Super Castlevania IV is different, because more than 30 years later, this game still works. Not just as nostalgia, not just as an early SNES showpiece, but as a full-blown Gothic experience. This is the moment Castlevania stopped being just a hard action series and became something richer, playable horror. The sense that Dracula's castle is not just a backdrop, but a vast, theatrical death maze determined to impress you and kill you in equal measure. Even before you get into the mechanics, there's just something about it, the way the soundtrack seems to seep into the walls. It doesn't feel like a level-based action game in the usual sense. It feels like a place. A melodramatic, monster-packed, fog-laced haunted attraction with an absolutely irresponsible staircase budget. We're stepping back into the castle to talk about why this game still casts such a powerful spell, why its slower, more theatrical style is part of the magic, and why, all these years later, does this game still have a pulse. Castlevania already had an identity before this. The original game on the NES is a classic, tight, severe, and about as forgiving as a tax audit conducted by vampires. But Super Castlevania IV feels different. It takes the bones of the original, Simon Belmont, Dracula's castle, Medusa heads being public nuisances, and then expands everything: the presentation, the atmosphere, the movement, the sense of scale. It doesn't discard what made Castlevania work, it just gives it room to breathe, room to make a dramatic entrance. The older games are brilliant, but they can be a bit stern. Super Castlevania IV loosens the collar slightly, lights a few candles, and decides to make an evening of it. That matters, because from the start the game doesn't feel like it's trying to challenge you, it's trying to immerse you. It wants you to take in the graveyard, the ruined architecture, the atmosphere. It is, in the best possible way, a bit of a show-off, and thankfully it has the goods to back that up. The real star of Super Castlevania IV isn't Simon Belmont, it's the castle and its surrounding design. That may sound a bit dramatic, but then drama is half the appeal here. This game understands that Dracula's castle should not just be a series of themed corridors with enemies in them. It should feel like a living monument to excess, a grand, ridiculous haunted death palace where every room has been arranged for maximum atmosphere. The opening graveyard still looks fantastic. The interior halls feel cold and cavernous. The underground sections are damp and oppressive. The towers have proper height and danger to them. You're not simply progressing from stage 1 to stage 2. You're pushing deeper into a place that is theatrical, absurd, and completely committed to the bit. Because this isn't a castle in the realistic sense. It's a haunted attraction designed by Dracula if he had access to a full stage crew, industrial fog, and absolutely nobody around him willing to say, "Sir, perhaps this room does not need rotating spikes and rivers of blood." That's what gives the game so much life. The castle has personality, it has vanity, it wants to put on a show, and because of that, the journey through it remains memorable in a way a lot of old action games simply aren't. Visually, Super Castlevania IV still has it, and not in a good for its age sort of way. It genuinely still looks beautiful. The animation is strong, Simon looks excellent, the whip has presence, and enemies are expressive enough to stick in your mind. Skeletons crumble, monsters have weight. Even the way Simon plants himself helps sell the physicality of the world. Then there's the Mode 7 spectacle. Some of it is definitely the Super Nintendo showing off. Fair enough, but when it works, the rotating rooms, the shifting environments, it doesn't just feel technical, it feels like stage magic. A bit indulgent? Absolutely. A little in love with itself? Without question, but when the result is this atmospheric, I'm not about to complain that Dracula's house is too theatrical. That would be missing the point. One of the smartest things this game does is understand spectacle. Swinging chandeliers over black voids, rising waters, bosses that enter like they've been waiting all week for this moment. Of course, atmosphere only gets you so far. Plenty of old games look nice, right up until you touch the controller. That's not the case here. Simon doesn't glide around like a modern action hero. He moves with purpose. Every step, every jump, every crack of the whip feels deliberate. The 8-directional attack changes everything. You can control space, above, below, diagonally. And the whip isn't just a weapon, it's a tool, a prop, a performance piece. You swing from hooks, block projectiles, lash candles for hearts. It becomes part of the rhythm. Now, by modern standards, Simon is a bit deliberate. Some players will always prefer faster action, but that heaviness is part of the spell. He feels tactile, he feels physical. So when the game asks you to cross swinging chandeliers or navigate collapsing bridges, you're not just timing jumps, you're surviving the castle. Then there's the soundtrack, which is doing a lot of heavy lifting and doing it brilliantly. Super Castlevania IV sounds like classic horror given a full dramatic arrangement. It carries grandeur, dread, momentum. And just a hint of gothic absurdity. The music doesn't sit on top of the stage, it fills it. It shapes the mood, gives each space its identity. If the visuals build the castle, the soundtrack fills it with blood. It's one of those games where sound becomes inseparable from memory. You don't just remember a level, you remember how it felt. Now, this is where blind worship would be easy, and honestly, a bit dull, because as much as I love this game, it isn't perfect. It's not the most punishing Castlevania, and if you're here for pure difficulty, there are harsher entries. The expanded whip and jump control softens some of the tension. Certain encounters are more manageable than they used to be. And yes, every now and then, the game feels slightly more impressed with its presentation than its challenge. That's all true, but it's also the point, because what it loses in severity, it gains in atmosphere. What it gives up in harshness, it makes up for in immersion. This isn't Castlevania at its most punishing, it's Castlevania at its most physical, where every step feels planted, every space feels intentional, every element, movement, sound, visuals pulling in the same direction, and that's rare. Plenty of games have monsters, plenty have gothic set dressing, but not many make you feel like you're pushing through a place with real weight behind it. This one does, and that's why it lasts. What I love about Super Castlevania IV is that it never feels like you're just clearing levels. You're advancing through a space, a ridiculous, beautiful, blood-soaked monster palace, where every corridor, staircase, and collapsing platform is trying to sell you on the same idea. That walking into Dracula's home and smashing your way through it somehow makes perfect sense. It might be a little easier than its siblings, a little more ornate, a little more in love with its own stagecraft. But that's exactly why it works, because it doesn't just show you gothic horror, it lets you move through it. And decades later, that castle still has a pulse.